Welcome to DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next. The Alumni podcast where you get to hear the inspiring stories and transformation that DVC has had to offer its alumni. And now, on with the episode.
Okay. So, all right. And we are live. And I'd like to welcome Carrington to our podcast. So why don't you go ahead and do a short introduction and then we'll work through all your stuff.
Yeah. So hi, my name's Carrington. Thank you so much for having me on, Charlie. It's been such an honor to meet you. I started at DVC in 2019 and graduated in 2022. I transferred to Cal State East Bay, and now I am going this fall to the University of Oxford to study health policy. So that's pretty much a little bit about me. I'm really passionate about mental health advocacy and health equity and accessibility.
Okay.
So,
yeah, cool. I mean, by the way, you're talking to the choir here on that, on those things. I have a lot of, but we'll get to that. So let's start with where you grew up. Mm-hmm. What was that like?
I grew up in San Ramon, so right down the way, not too far away. Super nice area, predominantly white. My family were the only African Americans in the neighborhood, and my cousins. So there was honestly 5 of us. You can count as many. You can count as many Black students at our high school with both hands. So it
sounds
was,
like one hand.
Yeah, one hand. It was very, very small, but really great community. But yeah, definitely experienced our ups and downs there, being such a minority in that area. So,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you got to see the world from a different lens.
Yeah.
Because I know, folks like me, it's like San Ramon is just San Ramon. And for you, it was, but.
Yeah. Definitely home at the end of the day. But definitely as a kid, it was difficult always being an outsider, even though, I had lived in the same neighborhood as these kids, did the same sports, did the same everything. I was still always, a little bit different. But yeah, it was kind of my experience growing up.
Yeah, I mean, that must have been tough. So, okay, so how did you do in high school, first of all? I mean, we kind of felt like an outsider, but how was high school overall as an experience?
I did well. I felt like I definitely had like a Superman syndrome, or because I was a minority, I felt I represented every Black person ever existed. And so I felt a lot of pressure to succeed and do really well. And so I definitely always went above and beyond and did my best in high school. And then when I got to, time to transfer, I realized I was broke. So
yeah.
So I had the grades, I had the passion, but the bank account was not matching.
Yeah, that is one thing that definitely can be a bit of a pinch.
Mm-hmm.
So, and especially with the zip code you come from, it's kind of like hard to find other ways to qualify.
Yeah, we were house rich, but like dirt poor.
Yeah. Yeah. So you at that point, did you know about DVC ahead of time, or?
Yeah, my mom, she's a great networker. She talks everyone's ears off. It's gotten me so many opportunities, and definitely a life lesson I've taken from her. And she learned about DVC and was like, you should go to DVC. And then at the time, it was like the FT3 program. So my first 2 years were free. And it was 2019 when I graduated. So that's kind of how I heard about it. And there was a San Ramon campus and a Pleasant Hill campus. So I was like, why not? It's free, You can't knock it, honestly.
Yeah. Well, and then you got dumped into the pandemic. So you're trying to do school in the pandemic. Well, I've talked to a lot of people about that.
Yeah.
Kicking the chair here, having a hard time. But because that had to have been a tough experience.
It honestly wasn't. I did a full year at DVC. I did like my summer semester, my fall semester, and then halfway through my spring semesters when the pandemic hit. But even through those 1.5 years, I had a really great time. I had a great time at DVC. And then even though everyone was struggling transitioning online, I feel like DVC did an excellent job with online classes. And I even ended up failing my stats class, and I was able to retake it, and DVC was able to waive it, so it didn't affect my transcript as much.
And you're a data geek like me. And so it's like, okay. So folks, just to know, it's okay to take classes over again.
Oh yeah. It's really okay to take classes over again. It happens, especially when you're younger, you're transitioning from high school to being a little more independent. Like it totally happens. And during the pandemic, we had a lot going on with like my family and like mental health wise. And so it just is one of the classes that unfortunately just like slipped through the cracks. But throughout, my 1.5 actual physical years at DVC, I had a great time.
Good. So you were looking at beyond that. So what was your most memorable experience with DVC other than the stats class thing? I mean, I like that lesson because it's just like kind of like, it just kind of happened. And so
it's happened. It's very, I feel like, everyone wants to be perfect, but classes happen, you know? I think my most formative memory was, first I was pre-nursing. And so I actually started a pre-nursing society here at DVC. I restarted it with some friends. So I'm still friends with today, who I'll be going to their wedding in a couple weeks. So it's definitely one of the most memorable experiences, being able to like restart a club at DVC, help students with taking the pre-nursing classes and kind of building that community. And that was really great. Yeah.
That's amazing. And again, it's like one of the things that I've found here at DVC is the clubs are a real key component to people succeeding here.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And a lot of the folks in the clubs belong to 2, 3, 4, 5 clubs, and so it's just, it would be interesting to me, and this is coming. I'll have to actually find out is how many actual people are in the clubs, because I think the number is different than if you add up, because you have people that are across clubs, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
and the thing about DVC is like they made it so easy to start a club, and that's what I really appreciate. There wasn't a huge, barrier to access to like some universities. You have to have 50 members or 30 members. Like here, it's kind of like you sign up, you have 5 people, and that made it super easy for us to get started and get our feet off the ground.
So what made you decide on Cal State East Bay? I mean, one is close. I mean, that makes it pretty easy, but what was the choice with that particular one?
At the time, I still wanted to do nursing, or I was kind of in between nursing, and Cal State East Bay had a great program. And so I thought I would transfer into their program, and I wanted to stay close to home. So that was kind of my logic of going. And my parents actually went to Cal State East Bay, so I was like, alone.
Well, they went to Cal State Hayward.
Cal State Hayward. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Cal State Hayward. Yeah.
Well, cool. And that I'm sure was a good experience too.
Yeah.
So it's a very good school. So you and one of the things I did want to touch on is, and yes, I did my homework a little bit. So, okay, so you have a couple of honors and awards, and that probably helped you get. And I know you had some scholarships, which you worked very hard for, because I know you got to work very hard for those things.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about those.
I guess my first scholarship was, I think, the Kennedy King when I first won.
Really? Okay.
Back in when I was transferring. So that was like a great honor to receive from the CCC district to help me at my CSU studies. And I believe that those scholarships are so important. It really helped me not have to worry about tuition payments or working extra shifts. I was working 3 jobs. I worked at In-N-Out, worked as a CNA. A girl was working. So not having to, pick up extra shifts. Working at Costco, I was working, but, just not having to pick up those extra shifts was such a privilege.
So you wore out your shoes a few times around.
Oh yeah. My back still hurts. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you had those things. So you're a double Kennedy King award, because that was it. Just for everybody to know, for perfect, that's where I met you. Was you were getting to head off down the road. So we'll get to that part, because it's I think that's so exciting. So what was so you at some point you changed what you were doing, because so you went in. And I did off camera, I did say you were a bit of a data nerd, because I are one too. So the minute I saw R as your thing that you had going, and it's like, what got you going on data?
So this Stanford medicine. So when I was transferring, I was still in community college, and I had the absolute honor to do the Stanford AHEAD program, which is a program for underrepresented communities to get involved in science and public health informatics at Stanford.
Mhm.
And through that program, I still credit them today for kind of launching, having, the name of Stanford help me to apply for other internships, other scholarships. And so that's kind of how I got into R and SAS coding, was through that program. So
And so you got in there, you got interested. So what really was the thing that where you would? Because I know people either love stats or they hate stats, and it's like, and I know usually people think of stats as just like a graph and numbers, and it's like until you really get into it, and it's like, oh, this is stuff. This can represent stuff.
I love Legos. I have a fat cabinet of thousands of Legos, and I've been doing them since I was a kid, and I love to build them. And so I felt like coding was kind of like building Legos, like slowly by surely. And so I just like that meticulous, detailed process of just like building code, like trying stuff out, and then having like a final product. And especially something I'm really passionate about health accessibility, it feels even better to be able to crack the code of something that I feel like can help a lot of people, especially within my community. So can't hate it.
Yeah, I know. And I never drew the thing between Legos but when I was a kid, I loved Legos, but we didn't have the mega. I mean, this is a long time ago. So it was just kind of the blocks, and we had windows and doors, and that was about it. We didn't have people yet. So, but it was a lot of fun. But I never drew that between doing the Legos to stats. It's like, that's an interesting thing. So, so you went to Stanford Medical School. You did some undergraduate research stuff. You ended up, I don't know, this kind of goes on and on. So walk us through your career, please.
Yeah. So I went to Stanford.
You get to talk about what's exciting in each one, too.
Okay, so I was at DVC, did a summer internship at Stanford, got me interested in like public health and advocacy and data and that whole world. I was still committed to pre-nursing, right? But fun fact and a little bit of secret, I'm a horrible test taker. Horrible. Like I'm really bad at like my SAT, ACT, so I had to take a pre-nursing exam, which I'm doing really, really bad at. So when I was applying for nursing schools, right, out of my third year of DVC, ready to transfer out, I didn't get any nursing programs, like none. I applied like it was bad. I was like, oh my God, like I spent 3 years. I started a club, like I did everything. I did well in my classes. I did okay on my tests, and it's very competitive here in California. And so I was in this like weird spot where I was like, oh my God, am I gonna do a 4th year at DVC? Am I gonna like what am I gonna do? And so then my friend referred me to the Obama Chesky public service scholarship. My friend at DVC was like, you should apply to this. And it was a scholarship for folks interested in public service. And it was a fully funded, it was for juniors specifically, and you get like 2 years to finish up your 4-year degree. You also get a $10,000 stipend for a voyage summer to explore your passions across the world. And it was also co-sponsored by Brian Chesky, the CEO of Airbnb. So you would also get 2,000 in Airbnb credits for the next 2 years to continue exploring your passion. So I was like, okay, I'm applying. And so I was like, thinking I'll look at application because I've always been super grounded in community. I was a Girl Scout. I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Incorporated. I've always been super grounded in my church, my community. So I was like, public service isn't even like a thing for me, to be honest. And then I took my experience from Stanford, and I was like, you know what? Mental accessibility is such an issue. When I was in high school and I was a minority, there was not a lot of supports for like students of color. It was super isolating. No one really got it. It felt like no one really cared. And so that's kind of what I pitched my scholarship on, which was I want to increase mental health accessibility for BIPOC students within the education system. And that was kind of my passion, my driven from my experience, from my family's experience, from my friends' experience being really isolated. And yeah, I won. And I spent that summer traveling to DC and Atlanta and New Orleans, really exploring mental health accessibility through government, NGOs, nonprofits, community building, and policy. And I kind of like, I ended up falling in love with it and just took it from there. And I was like, it's the best of both worlds. So complete pivot. Life lesson, don't give up. Like a closed door. Like one door closes, another one opens. Because if I hadn't got into any nursing programs, I wouldn't be where I was today.
Well, I mean, and we're going to talk some more about it because it's just like, I'm like, that's a pivot.
It's such a pivot.
I think too often we think of life as being super linear. If I do this and this and this and this, and it's going to be this. And it's just like, nothing in my life has ever been that linear. Other than I was born and at some point I'm going to leave. And those are the only two things that I know are going to bracket and everything.
Guaranteed, and taxes. That's the only thing
Yeah, which we were going to talk about that. But again, it's like, it's that embracing, because you really embraced that nonlinear journey and you now found a new passion that you are probably more passionate about and may even have an opportunity to have more impact. So you also did a podcast, it looks like. Oh, you did communications research intern. So, okay. So you go along, you pivot to a new thing. Let's talk. So you also did the congressional intern thing, and man, you have been a busy, busy person.
Yeah.
So one of the things I look at all the stuff that you've done and your experience is just amazing. And you've been in the UCSF Propel Community Manager for the last few years. Are you looking to, well, you're not going to obviously be able to do that when you leave, but we'll get to that part. So you obviously gotten married during this time because your husband has this amazing book that I just got a copy of. It's Black to the Kitchen. And I'm super excited about it because it's just like, there's stuff in here. We just got to talking at Kennedy King and I was just like, oh my God, I love cookbooks like this because it just, but we'll talk about him. We'll give him a plug.
Yeah.
Where can you find his thing here?
blacktothekitchen.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll give it a plug at the end too, just because why not? But talk a little bit about, so you made that transition to the mental health thing. I think that's absolutely fascinating because I think most folks don't get, it's like most of us are in the middle of the bell curve. And those of us that are not in the middle of the bell curve, where it's like we're feeling isolated for a variety of reasons it can be. And I think COVID really blew that up.
Yeah.
Because we're now all of a sudden stuck on, screens. We get to interact with people via a computer, which is better than nothing, but not
ideal.
Yeah. And especially for kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what is your vision for like your impact on that community at some point? What do you see that you can do?
I really want to increase funding opportunities so schools are able to invest in those mental health resources. For example, the University of Austin, UT Austin, they have a social worker on campus. And so, for example, if students are experiencing a mental health crisis, they have a social worker. So, they're able to complete their education. So, if someone's experiencing a crisis and they have to take a semester off, they have to take a couple classes, they need a more flexible schedule, they have kind of a middleman to help facilitate this. So they're not just falling through the cracks, dropping out of classes, not being able to complete their schooling. But social workers are expensive and not every campus can afford that. And so I'd love to increase funding opportunities and to invest in policies to help that more accessible for school districts across the nation.
Now that you're thinking small. So you then completed your studies at Cal State East Bay. Okay. What happened next? Because this is where it gets, all this is very exciting, but it's like, talk about what happens next.
Yeah. So as I was wrapping up my studies at East Bay, I was in that same spot, what do I do next? And I really wanted to pursue my master's, and I was looking up, master's programs. And I ended up finding this program in Oxford. It was the it was a master's, it was an MPhil in evidence-based social intervention and policy evaluation. And I was like, oh my God, perfect. Because I was like, I couldn't, because it was like, okay, do I do public policy? Do I do an MPH? But none of them were really like sitting with me. And then that program, it literally just like, it was like everything I was looking for. And I was like, okay, next question. How do I pay for this? I was like, that was the second question. And so then I found the Marshall Scholarship. And I was like, okay, awesome. So I was looking into it, and it's more about an ambassadorial program between the US and the UK. And because of my experience in DC, I kind of have experience, being an ambassador for Cal State East Bay, and ambassador, for my family and my culture, my community. So I was like, perfect. I'm really interested in, co-relationships and building mental health accessibility across the world. I don't think it should just be, here in this bubble of Contra Costa. And so I kind of applied with that mission of, increasing, because they're more liberal and progressive over there when it comes to mental health accessibility. So, I kind of...
They're a little more progressive than a lot of stuff like that. So we'll just stop there, but yes.
So it was a perfect opportunity to say, like, I feel like this is what we in my community are lacking. I would love to study that in the UK and bring those policies and ideals over here. And so then I won. So now, I was like, it was such an honor and a privilege. Hardest interview I've ever done in my entire life.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have night terrors about it because it's intimidating because, it's like a big panel and they're all British and you're like, yes, you're hoping that they're getting to the point. But yeah, so... And then, it was just a great opportunity and privilege. And I'm so honored to have opportunity to study, overseas.
So you got that. You got another Kennedy King. Okay. Which is, I know that there's a few people. Monica Hicks was last year and you're this year. And we'll see who's next year. And and you guys are all doing amazing things and have amazing stories. So, to talk a little bit, because you mentioned, and I think this is interesting. So one of the things is oftentimes students, especially here at DVC, don't know where to start looking for any of these things. It's like, and so like a lot of times they're members of Puente or Emoji or something like that. And those folks can help. But you sound like you're rather gifted at the ability to go hunt these things down. And you also took the opportunity. How did you end up being a congressional aide for a little bit? Because that, be willing to bet, put you in contact with folks that helped a lot.
Yeah, 100%. At East Bay, there was a program through the Panetta. So former Secretary Leon Panetta has a internship fellowship where they pick one student from each CSU and Santa Clara and Dominican, and they kind of bust them out. Kind of like the UC has a program similar. They bust them out to DC and you work in a congressional office. I ended up working in my local congressional office, which was Congressman Eric Swalwell. And then because of those connections I made in DC after I graduated, I ended up working there for a little bit. So that's kind of how, so it's really about who you know, not what you know.
So I didn't even know about this program. I'm just like going, oh my gosh, we should be doing something like that here at DVC. But
for sure.
So how did you find out about that?
I am a chronic stalker. Like I really, I signed up for all the email lists. It doesn't matter what department, poli-sci. I'm not a poli-sci major. Poli-sci, mathematics, public health, doesn't matter. Sign up for all those email lists is what I tell folks, because you never know what opportunity could come along. That opportunity was through the poli-sci department. It had nothing to do with my public health major, but because, I'm always hungry for opportunity, hungry for, an adventure, that's kind of how it came into my lap. And so I tell people at DVC too, I feel like my biggest hurdle wasn't finding opportunities, but having the confidence to apply. Because at community college, sometimes I felt a little inferior. We're in this area, nestled between Berkeley and Stanford and, these big universities who hold a lot of prestige, and I'm applying to the same internships and, I felt weird about it, but it's why? You took the exact same classes.
You may have even had the same teachers.
You might, honestly, yes. A lot of teachers here, you're from UC Berkeley, which is weird. But So yeah, I think that was the biggest was having the confidence to apply for things.
So where did you find that confidence? Because I agree. It's like, it's
Mhm.
tough. It's like, oh, I'm only going to community college. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, you know what? There's some pretty good instructors and you learn some pretty good stuff here. So,
Mhm.
so where did you find that confidence? Did you just kind of like fake it till you make it? Or was it more like you dug down deep, or what did that look like?
It's kind of like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Like I'm gonna be honest. Like you won't even have opportunity if you don't even try. So it's like, why not? It definitely like it's a mental thing because it's like, oh, am I gonna spend 2 hours on this application and get letters of rec just for it to fail? But it's like you'll never know if you don't try.
Mhm.
So you know just try. Like, you
Yeah.
never know, really.
I loved Monica Hicks said something that has stuck with me, and because I bring her up again,
Mhm.
you a fellow Kennedy King graduate scholar. But part of the reason is she said something that was interesting, and she said her thing was, if you're not putting in enough applications to get rejected, then you're not reaching high enough.
Mhm.
So it sounds like you kind of have the same philosophy as it's just worded a little differently, and it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's just like the worst thing that can happen is they say no.
That's it.
So so here you are. You're now getting ready to pack up.
Yeah.
And what's that like?
Oh, it's fun. It's really fun. I'm really excited. I'm also like it's just like it's a really exciting time because I'm getting married in July, and then I'm also moving in September, and it's just
Oh,
like a
jeez.
really no, I know it's a lot, but I'm really excited to pack everything up, sell it.
Mm-hmm. So where did you meet your husband to be? I'm sorry.
DC.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think he told me that when because
Yeah.
I did ask, and now that you said that, I remember that. But it's like,
Yeah.
so how did you guys? Was he like a congressional aide too, or?
Yeah, he was also part of the Panetta program, but he
Mhm.
was at different CSU. So we were in the same kind of cohort, but like different offices. So you never know who you run into.
Guys, you making eyes across the congressional
Yeah.
rotunda and stuff like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. And which CSU was he from?
Humboldt.
Okay, good
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
So you guys decided you're coming here. He's obviously just kind of come along
Mhm.
holding your bag for you, and
Oh my God.
I'm sure he's got other stuff he's going to be doing and stuff like that. But I'm sure he's very excited. How excited is he?
So he actually ended up getting a fully funded PhD in the UK. So we'll both be doing fully funded educational adventures. He'll be doing Black studies with the concentration in jazz, and I'll be doing health policy. So very left brain, right brain kind of situation. But yeah, it's a super cool to not like to be able to move with your life partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun
Hmm.
and stressful and all that good stuff. And the weather's not as good.
Yeah, but we're hoping I'm like, okay, I'm like $30 like plane ticket to Spain. That's what I keep seeing.
Or jump on the tube or
Jump on
something.
the
Yeah,
tube,
jump on whatever it is. Yeah, that is true. It's like travel to all of it. Travel to everywhere else is easier.
Easier, yeah.
So
I've never been overseas.
you've never been
My
overseas?
passport is empty.
Oh,
It's
okay.
blank.
Okay.
So
Okay.
definitely excited to start filling it up.
That'll be fun. So when you get there, like besides, I mean, obviously you're going to get oriented and figure out what
Mhm.
you're doing. It's like, what are some of your like? I'm sure you've already thought about. Oh, we're going to do this and this. So talk about that.
I'm gonna join the billiards team. The like pool.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
My dad plays billiards like professionally, so I've always been super into it. And
Billiards is different than pool.
pool. Billiards, pool.
Okay.
Pool. Yeah, I'm gonna join their pool team. Essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm really excited about that. And I'm also interested in they have a lot of for the Marshall program, you get paired up with a UK government official. And so you get to learn about the UK government, essentially like a mini internship program. So I'm excited about that too. 'Cause it's so different from the US. I've experienced the US, and then you see the videos of the UK when they're like yelling at each other. And so like it's very different,
It is. It would be interesting to see if we could ever have that sort of, composure where it's like somebody gets to stand there and yell across the line. And yeah.
So I'm interested to learn about their government processes and how they're similar or different from the US. And so that should be really cool.
That'll be a lot of fun. Is there any special travel that you want to do while you're over there other than everywhere?
Honestly, everywhere. I will not say no to a single opportunity, as you can see by
Yes.
I will go, like, I guess some things I'm really looking forward to. I guess Paris. I really want to go to Paris.
Okay.
But yeah.
So you kind of alluded to something, and this is something I find interesting is especially as like you grew up kind of feeling like an outsider, and yet somehow you always say yes.
Yeah.
And then figure it out.
Yeah.
So where in the world does that come from?
Delusion.
Okay.
Well, it's like, unfortunately, it's a foreign feeling that I'm very used to. So, I'm very used to, being maybe a little bit different, a little bit, on the outside, a little bit of an outlier. And so it's a foreign feeling that I'm used to. So I don't let that ever stop me at all. Because, like, what's different here than from now? Nothing. So
well, and you seem to kind of be willing to lean into it. Just I'll say yes and I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll say yes. I'll figure it out. It's worked out.
Yeah, I'm just amazed that you seem you're very resourceful. So it's just like a roadblock comes up and most people just like lay over and, decide to spend their life at Costco, which is fine. But you decided that wasn't what you wanted. And you're going to figure out and you're going to wrestle to the ground and beat the sense out of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I've definitely, when I was in high school, my high school chemistry teacher told me I was tenacious. He said I was a very tenacious student. And I think I've kind of always taken that with me because life is really too short to not try. And I think I'm also like a little competitive too. So I love a good challenge. And so, the challenge of, being in a new place, like being in DC, I've never, been there before and being in this, Congress and working for, congressmen. I'm like, this is a challenge that I want to succeed at and do my best, for myself and for like my family. And so that's kind of a mindset I've taken with me every step of the way. And I plan to take with me to, Oxford, and it's going to be a whole nother community and adventure. And so, yeah, I plan to take each step at a time and hopefully do my best and conquer it, I guess.
I have a feeling you're going to do very well with it because you seem to be, with me, I always view it as being, I'm not bright enough to know I failed. And so I just kind of keep going at it until it succeeds. And it's just, you're kind of more, it's like you're going to just keep at it until you succeed at it. So since you're so competitive and your husband to be is chasing his PhD, are you going to chase a PhD at some point, maybe?
I think so.
Oh,
I think of maybe a JD. Okay. I think I've already planned it out. 10-year plan. Don't worry. Once I finish this degree, I think I'm going to take a little break. But then I definitely have plans to either do a PhD or a JD, depending on, I don't know, depending on how I feel at the time and what I want to do with it. So.
Yeah. And you're smart enough to know that it's like, it's going to be what it is. So after Oxford, you've kind of reached the top of the hill at that point. There's, so imagine in 5 years, you decide to go chase a degree. Where would you like to go? It's just, perfect universe, everyone's throwing money at you because you're so awesome, all that good stuff.
I think I really love the East Coast. I really love DC. I would love to stay in the East Coast. I really enjoyed Howard. Howard it's an amazing school, great connections, great community. But who knows? I'm hoping that in the UK I'll find, other international schools I would never know about here in the US. But I think if I had to pick a number one, it would definitely be, I've always wanted to go to an HBCU. So definitely be probably Howard.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a couple of rather prestigious folks that have been to, like, for instance, Morehouse and things like that, which is, I interviewed a gentleman, Michael, and his last name escapes me, but he just has the most amazing voice. I'm going to have to get him to narrate some of our stuff. It's just, I'm like, we're going to be calm, but he's doing a ton of amazing things with entrepreneurs out there. Yeah. But so you've been to Atlanta, right? Okay. And did you like the vibe of Atlanta?
Yeah.
Atlanta's very cool, by the way.
I have family in Atlanta. We go like 3 times a year.
Okay.
I love it. I love it there. The CDC is based there as well, which is really cool. But I love it's kind of like the Black Hollywood, like Tyler Perry and all that. And so it's a great community, especially for like people of color, African Americans, to kind of see Black people succeeding in in spaces that maybe you don't typically see in mainstream media. And so that's what I love about Atlanta so much. And I go there often.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. I recommend it.
So, if you had to talk to your younger self
Hmm.
or somebody, it's like, and they're kind of beginning their journey, what would be like a piece of advice that you'd want to give them?
Someone in the, okay, I have a younger brother. So
Oh.
I'll talk to you like I talk to my younger brother. Who's
Well, you got to be nice though, because he is your younger brother. So
who's often, he's a little bit more pessimistic. He's, Gen Alpha, whatever. I tell him all the time, I'm like, you only have one life, right? Like, this is it. And so not to like feel pressure or anything like that, but I'm just like, just do your best. Like, that's why I keep just do your best. Like, just don't see no opportunity. Take advantage of everything. Like, you have the energy. Like, you're young. Like, just that's why I always like to tell him. I'm like, you can do it. Like who said you can't? No, like I'm serious. I'm like, who said you can't?
Usually only ourselves.
Point them out. Like, yeah, like no one, no one's ever told me directly, like, oh, you can't do that. So it's like, just do it. That's what I tell them.
Okay. Okay. So anything? Oh, one more pit plug for the Black to the Kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna really enjoy this because I'm like, the minute your fiance, I'll be correct on that. I don't know why I thought you guys were married, but just that's where my brain goes. But the minute he started telling me about the research he did for this, it was just, I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta check this out. So talk about this for a sec.
Yeah, so Black to the Kitchen. So my husband, his name's Dylan Avery Harp. He runs a nonprofit and basically explores genealogy of foodways through the transatlantic slave trade. And so I actually really helped out with this book. I'm gonna plug myself. We traveled.
What is that?
No, we did a lot of work. We actually went to Atlanta, right, to help out with this book. So we visited a lot of plantations. We visited the museum, pulled archival work throughout Atlanta, New Orleans, and South Carolina to help find, accurate information and to do a lot of research on like Black kitchens. And so we saw like cooking in like the hearth. Traditional like hearth, like a stove situation. And so, so it's a really great book. I recommend it. It's very interesting. There's a lot of great recipes. My favorite is the mofongo.
All right. You're gonna have to show me when we're done because I'm gonna go home and make that at some point.
And the oxtails. So the
oxtails. And my wife loves oxtails. So now I have to make her oxtails. Thanks a lot. But she'll see this. She's go, oh, honey, we're gonna make oxtails. And it's like I'm gonna go, okay.
Costco has great oxtails.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Costco. I'm not sure where you live, but the Costco in Livermore sells like packs.
Okay. Well, I think this one does too. So it's just, I'm sure it does. But I'll have to go over there. I just don't like their parking lot.
Fair enough.
I don't think there's a Costco on the face of the earth that has enough parking.
No, fair enough.
So I'll have to figure that out. But again, we'll put a link to the book in the show notes, and definitely because I want to promote this because I think this is very exciting. I think I'm a believer in that. One of the things I loved about Anthony Bourdain is he was about the story that goes with the food. He's about connecting over food. It's any story that goes with how you. And this is, an important story that we need to remember is how we got to this food, because a lot of people think that it's like it just kind of magically showed up. It's kind of like tacos, everyone thinks, well, they're just here. And it's like, no, there's a story on how they got here.
Generations and generations of folks trying things and utilizing, the earth and their culture to cultivate these cuisines that we enjoy today.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, I think we will, anything else you want to sign off on?
Anything else I want to sign off on?
No pressure.
I just say thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to share my story. I really appreciate it. This is the first time on a podcast. And
really?
I'm really excited. I was like, okay.
So when you come back, or when after you've had some experiences and you get to tell us some stories about when you're in traveling and all that good stuff, I'd love to have you back. I think it'd be very exciting.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a lot of fun. And I do want to see if you guys got time to get your husband on here, just talk about the book.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys could both be on here so you can go, no, honey, that's not what happened.
He's going to tell you a story about how we were in Atlanta, we were in Georgia in July, and I thought I was going to die. I really did. I thought this was it. And he's going to tell you a story about how I got I kept playing mosquito bite. It was like that. It was like the needle in the haystack, like top all over. It's just one mosquito bite. I was like, I laughed. I was like, I gotta go. I sat in the car for the rest of the trip because it was so hot. But yeah, I'll definitely.
Well, that is one thing about the South as well. The food is fabulous. It's like the weather,
and it's like it makes you like want to eat. You're just hot. You're like, I'm hungry, but I'm also like.
Yeah, I usually, when I was visiting through there, it was usually in the spring, fall, or winter. And so it was fine. Oh, this is good. But it's also like people love Phoenix they love it in February and March. But you go there in August and you're just, you're cooked.
Yeah.
So, all right, great. Well, I would love to have you both on to talk about the book and stuff. That would be a lot of fun. And we'll just sign off with that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in to DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next, the podcast for the DVC Alumni Association. You can contact us at alumni@dvc.edu with any comments, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe to our podcast.